the sort of earliest work in the exhibition, and it's from 2002. When I first started thinking about contemporary painting, it was in the late 90s, mid to late 90s. I went to undergraduate school in Cleveland, and at that time there was a lot of painting that, you know, it was a kind of permissive time for painting, but abstraction felt like it was treated as a representation, which I kind of felt like maybe it should be more open. And if, you know, there's painters like John Curran or Luke Toyman, so it seems that if there was representational painting, it was coming out of a observational point of view or from photographic references. And so I was interested in trying to figure out a way to depict a subject that maybe didn't come from a particular source, that was imagined or was a fictional subject. So I was thinking about The Last Man on Earth from observation, that it was just kind of an impossible subject to begin to imagine. So these are paintings of him right here, and I thought that he could be different in each of the paintings, and that he could sort of die and come back to life, or he was sort of like a character that was recyclable. And it wasn't that I was interested in sort of end-of-the-world scenarios, but more about a situation where there's a subject with maybe two people. So he was maybe the only audience for the paintings, and I would be like the last painter in that situation. But here he is as a kind of proboscis monkey, and then here he's sort of making sculpture. He himself is making art. I thought that could either be like a sculpture or a painting or a camera. And when I was making the paintings, I felt like that I liked the situation because it had this kind of limitations to it. You know, there was like maybe him, a chair, a lot of space, you know. But then I felt like, and I thought that I was going to make many versions of him, but then I started to feel that it was becoming too limited. So I was thinking, well, if I made other subjects, or what if there was more people in that situation, and, you know, we weren't going to be having sex. I don't know. Well, you know, then I can make other subjects out of him. So this is him as the rock band, the Breeders. The Breeders is a band from the 90s. It had these two sisters as front people in the band, Kim and Kelly Deal. And I thought those two shapes could be each a half of his body, and, you know, he could be, you know, that's sort of a foot. So I really like how fiction can be a sort of space where you can rearrange the hierarchies of the world within it. Like, say, for example, like a novel, you know, it's like a space where it's sort of parallel to the world, but so it's not completely like fantasy or something, but that it's a sort of a structured space where you can begin to rearrange these hierarchies. And even by that I meant like how it's depicted. So it was like a question of like how do you paint the trees, and, you know, how flat should the body be. I don't usually use photographs or paint from sources, so a lot of the way that I come up with information is sort of based on a what-if kind of situation. So I'll think of like, okay, like what is the weather like, and how, you know, how does this thing exist? Like, what's it sitting on? And a lot of the subjects I felt like were kind of almost just there for the picture. So they're really kind of presented really frontally. And I think with his expression sometimes too, it's like he's kind of aware that he's being pictured. You know, like, I'm here for the picture. A lot of times I was thinking about color in a way that it could, how it feels, you know, like in a way where it could feel really bodily, or certain purples have a coldness to them and a different kind of particular space.